So now it really is my honor to kick off this morning an incredible panel of leadership in the state of New Jersey. These women are extraordinary. You're going to hear more about them when they come up to the podium. I'd like to welcome them up as I introduce you to our panelists this morning: Lori Herndon from Atlantic Care, Judy Saylor from Prime Point, Monica Slater-Stokes with United Airlines, Catherine Stargell with the New Jersey Community College Consortium, and our incredible moderator today from PSE&G, Karen Reef. Let's give it up for these extraordinary ladies.
So the format we're going to use is we're going to each introduce ourselves for about 30 seconds, and I have some provocative questions that we put together, but we want to make this interactive and we want to make sure we answer your questions. So we want to make this as beneficial for you as possible. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Karen Reef. I've been with PSE&G for 27 years now, almost to the day, which is surprising. I spent the majority of my career in IT, and about 5 years ago, I started running the renewables group, we're responsible for EE. Thank you, Michelle, for the plug. We have a booth over there. It's truly the only thing you can do that helps the environment, saves you money, and it's wonderful for the utility to be more clean, green, great for the environment. So please visit our booth. I know we have some stress balls. They're over there. I have to do a shameless plug. We also do electric vehicles. We have some programs if you're in our service territory as well. So I've been running the renewable group for the last several years, and we're really excited to be able to offer these things and help each of our customers, no matter what kind of customer, become green. So thank you. So I'm going to turn this over to Lori to introduce herself.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lori Herndon. I'm the president and CEO of Atlantic Care, and I want to welcome you to Atlantic City as a member of this community. We're thrilled to have you, and I've talked to a few of you who've had a good experience and would love to have you back, Michelle, so thank you for choosing us. And my background, I'm a registered nurse by training. I have been in the healthcare business my whole career, and I've had a great opportunity to experience all different levels of leadership. So I'm looking forward to sharing some insights with all of you, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Judy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Judy Saylor. I am the HR Education and Events Manager for Prime Point. That also goes along with, I am a professor at Rider University. So if you don't answer questions, I will be forced to call on you directly. I had 20 amazing years as a youth development individual. And then when I had my own family, decided it was time not to do that anymore. And so I've had a wonderful opportunity in for-profit working for Prime Point and growing as our company grows and growing and helping to educate for our future.
Thank you very much. Catherine, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Catherine Stargell. I'm the VP of Strategy and Partnerships for the New Jersey Community College Consortium for Workforce and Economic Development, or just the Council of County Colleges. I am an attorney by trade. I like to say that I'm a reformed attorney. I was a tax attorney because I'm really a nerd under all this red. But I have had a very varied pathway. And now I'm here with you all, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. And Monica?
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you all. It's a nice room, so pleasure to be here. Monica Slater-Stokes. I'm the Managing Director of Corporate and Government Affairs for United Airlines. I started my career in government, working at various levels, local and federal. The late U.S. Senator Frank Lautenberg transitioned to the private sector. United Airlines, Continental Airlines initially, and then post-merger named in place as Managing Director for United. Looking forward to discussing my experiences and hopefully sharing some golden nuggets. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think it's great that we have such a diverse panel with everybody having such different backgrounds. So hopefully you guys can walk away with just different tools to use moving forward. So the first question I wanted to ask everyone is, for women who are on their way to leadership roles, What advice would you give to bring the best out of people for them to succeed? Catherine, you want to give us your?
I will. I remember being that person, right? I wasn't even sure if I was on my way to leadership, but I knew that I had ideas that weren't being discussed at the table always. And so I encouraged myself. I trusted my instinct and intuition. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not the best when it comes to intuition, but I did trust myself. And then whenever I heard someone else speak in a room that I was in a meeting that I was in, male or female, with whom I related, I would make it my business to go and introduce myself and get to know them, because I thought, okay, I have something in common here. Maybe this person can help develop my thinking, help develop my path. And I was successful at that. And I'm going to tell you something else that you won't often hear. I didn't always seek out the folks with the best ideas. Sometimes I sought out the folks with the worst ideas because I wanted to understand, how the heck did they come to that idea? Or I wanted to stay away from that sometimes. And so I literally would seek them out. And so I think it's important for you all to get what you feel you need from everyone around you professionally, good and bad. And I think because of that, all of that input led me to where I am now.
Thank you. How about you, Lori?
Well, I think one of the things that we all bring is our individualness to our professions, and I think embracing kind of knowing who you are. And I think that's one of the things as people, as they develop their career, we don't always pause enough to just reflect on kind of what the values we bring and trying to identify those values that are core to who we are, and then trying to match those up to the organizations that we either become a part of or the businesses that we build. I think that women especially don't always, I'd say, pursue those relationships and we had a great conversation this morning at breakfast about building on those relationships and taking the time. We're also busy proving that we are deserving of these roles and that we are capable of doing this work, that we sometimes miss out on the opportunities to get to know each other and to work together to build our careers and learn. I think I would agree, learning from others with different perspectives. I think people, in healthcare, we come from such a diverse background. And I think that one of the things that matters the most is we have such different opinions. And I would agree, getting to hear those voices and better understand what is possible and the divergent opportunities are really, really important.
Great, thank you. Judy, do you have a perspective?
Don't take things too personally. And I know that's really hard to put into action for most people, including myself. I had to think really hard and long about this because we all put our heart and soul into what we do. And we want the best. We want to improve. We want to grow. We want to lift others up. Yesterday, I attended the Women in Manufacturing session and the branding session, and all of those presenters all spoke about the fact that, you need to get a mentor. Mentors help us through those times when people are coming at us. If you are feeling that the taking something personally, a decision you made, a comment you made, a story you told, or your input into a meeting, you need to talk to someone through that, because we all have to remind ourselves that 1% of the entire population will not like your ideas, will not like what you say, will not like what you wear, and that is their problem. It's not ours. We have to remind ourselves of that. So mentors help us. We need to uplift others. When you see it happening, get in there and do something. That's leadership, stepping in and supporting and lifting others.
Thank you. Such great perspectives. So just to, Monica, what advice would you give to someone starting their career for exceeding in their field and getting noticed?
Thank you. I like to start with a story because I think that will help provide some context. I remember I did a 360, and for those of you who don't know, it's an assessment of your leadership, how you interact. You do a vertical, those above you, those who are your peers. You reach out to all of those people, and you try and you encourage them to give feedback on what you contribute, what kind of leader you are. And so I did this, and I was really excited, and I thought I had a really great cross-section of people who knew me, some who worked with me, peripherally. And when I got my results back, I got things like too aggressive, rigid, abrupt. Those were the negatives. On the positive side, it was strategic, smart, effective. But of course, I homed in on the negatives, was obsessing about that, right? And I will tell you, as a woman and as a woman of color, I learned a long time ago that you have to know who you are, one, and you have to be willing to do the self-assessment and be self-aware. So it's tricky. And I had a lot of work to do to try to figure out what I would shelve and what I was supposed to learn and for my growth. And so I did that work. But what remains true is that the core of me, the fact that I'm passionate, the fact that I don't mind using my voice, that's okay. And I'm fine with that. And for those who struggle with that, they have to do their own self-assessment and ask themselves why. So part of leadership is doing that inside work and then being clear on your core values and what drives you. And it's also about claiming it. Claiming it. If you see some place you want to be in leadership, act it, claim it, walk it, wear it. I had to do that. And when I did that, the shift started to occur.
Thank you. That's such great perspective. I have 2 children who are entering the workforce kind of as we speak. And the advice I give to them is, always volunteer to try to do something different, because you won't know if you're interested in something until you try it. So, especially when you're earlier in your career, try different things, because you might find something you're really interested in. I didn't know I was going to be interested in IT. I never in a million years thought I'd be in renewables. But you try it and you get to learn different things and move forward. And then the other thing I would say is, I say to my kids, you're going to be working for a long time, so you should really need to do something you're interested in. Because when you do something you're interested in, it's so much more rewarding than if you're just checking in every day. Catherine, do you have a perspective you want to share?
We all are who we are. And so leadership is going to look different for each of us. And to your point, that's great advice that you give to your children. My father said it a different way. He laughed. I was a planner even in high school. Like, I loved to-do lists. And I'm a little bit older than a lot of you all. So I don't even know if they had those cute little to-do lists with the boxes that you could check off, that you could get at Target or whatever. So I would make up my own. And my father would look at my list and he would laugh. And he would tell me, you don't even know what you're going to be or what you're going to do. Which, of course, infuriated me. And made me feel as a teenager that he did not understand me. Of course, he was my parent. He knew me better than I knew myself. But I say that to say, do not expect your route to leadership to look like anyone else's. You shouldn't want it to, but definitely know it won't. Because your route, your path to leadership is going to be entirely different. And there will be all kinds of twists and turns. I was going to school, I went to University of Michigan, go blue. I went to college, I was going to be an attorney. Yeah, I got there and I decided, I want something quicker than that, right? I ended up with a master's in accounting. I worked for at least 5 years. I don't even know. I kept putting off law school. Then I went to law school as an old lady, I felt like, at the ripe age of 27, and then it just turned. I ended up in state government. Like, who would have thought that? You don't know your path, but be open. Be open to opportunity and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that's great advice. Lori, do you want to add some?
Love those answers. I guess, part of the journey for many of us is having, taking the risk and jumping out of your comfort zone and being willing to put yourself in a position to, chase that dream or apply for that job. I can't tell you, I mentor a lot of different people in our organization, in the community, and the self-doubt and the concern about not being perfect or perfectly ready is really just an imagination experience. And, I think part of, planning your careers and thinking about the future is recognizing that you have such capacity and capability and taking the risk. I think the other point I would make is that, look for those 360 moments. I was going to ask you to raise your hand. If you haven't had a lot of 360s in your professional career, I would encourage you to dig into that. One of the best things that you can learn about are the opportunities that where your strengths are, but also where you have opportunities for improvement. And I still go through a 360 experience. I do it every year. I still cringe because none of us really want to get that constructive feedback. But, at the end of the day, those are the things that really do make the difference and give you that insight to be able to, change it up and grow a little bit. I think the last thing I would say is take opportunities to volunteer and put yourself out there in what I would call the area of passions in the community. I've met great women and other leaders in our community in different ways. I judged the Miss America pageant this Saturday night here in Atlantic City, and it's something that I've never had a chance to do. And just the opportunities and other judges, just take those opportunities. We're all tired, we're busy, but when you see something that you can get involved in, I think it really does open some doors and gives you your personalities a chance to blossom in other ways.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know if any of you have either read Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, or just seen the podcast, the TED Talk. It's like a 15-minute TED Talk, but it's so, I think it's so striking. And what happens, or what I've seen happen, and I think just building on what Lori said, is if there's a job description and there's 10 things listed as requirements, women will go through and say, I don't really have 1 and 7. Men will look at it and say, oh, I have 3 of them, so I'll put my name in. So the difference is just we're so self-critical and we hold ourselves back. Or I can't tell you how many women I've spoken to, and just recently I had a woman who we were trying to help move forward in her career, and we said, please take this opportunity. We think you'd be great. And she said, well, I just got married and I might have a baby in the next 3 years, so I'm not sure I want to do that. And it's like, we tried to say to her, and I know I have 2 children. I know a lot of working women with children, and why don't we worry about it when it happens? Because if we're doing this to ourselves over and over, we can't make a lot of progress, and we bring such diversity to the table. So we can't pull ourselves off. So it's just something to think about. I have one more question here I'm going to use from my list, and then I'll open it up. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to ask questions. And then I have others, but I have to use my reading glasses. Catherine, what is finding your voice in terms of leadership to you? How do you develop your leadership voice?
I think I've been working on my leadership voice since I was 9. I am the 6th child in a family of 6, children. My parents were very good Catholics, and the rhythm method does not work. So they were having children for 20 years. There's a 20 years difference between me and my oldest sister, my oldest sibling. And, for all practical purposes, I was a mistake, right? My mother was 42. Back then, you didn't have children that old. But again, the rhythm method doesn't work. And I think, strangely, my siblings allowed me to just run everything. And I think they were amazed that I would, step up and, I'll plan that, or we ought to do this, or whatever. And I just thought I was being bossy and thought that was cute. And eventually, my sister, who's 20 years older than me, could have been my mother, right? She said to me, "You are a natural born leader." And I went, "Leader? I don't want to be a leader. What is that? I just like telling you guys what to do and you actually follow." And so some of it is innate, right, in us. But really, to your point, Monica, and Monica, we've met on Zoom. We've never met in person. If you decide you want to be something, you want a certain job, you want a certain whatever, you have the power within you to decide that. And if you are focused on it, right, it all kind of comes together. And so I think you find your voice by first deciding, I want to be a leader. And then you will be amazed at how many opportunities will arise in the community, at home, at work, in your place of worship, to do just that, be a leader. But you have to be open to it. I keep going back to your children. Good advice. I have an 18-year-old. I have to prep up for college now. But just, you have to make the decision and then start practicing. Practice being who you want to be.
Thank you. Sorry. Judy, do you have a perspective on this?
Yeah. Your leadership voice is, how you communicate to who is leading you. It's so much more than just your voice. And we talk about it as if it's a trait, but it's really your style. Mm-hmm. When you come into a room, and we all know all the tricks, right? When you're going to a big meeting, ladies, we wear red. When we want everyone to believe us, yes, we wear blue. We go through those things. And yes, that affects the brain, but that's also part of your voice. That's part of leading. When we have these moments of not necessarily wanted to be the leader in the room at a point, we have these crises that occur, and 2020 was a difficult year for those in medical. Everyone had their moment to decide, how was I going to be leaderful? One of the biggest things that I do teach with my young people is leadership. And I teach a variety of classes. It doesn't matter the class. We talk about leadership because in my mind, first of all, if they all graduate and get good jobs, I'll be able to retire one day.
Yes.
The bigger thing is they're going to be our next leaders. And so I need them to think about, it's not just being a leader. There are lots of leaders. There were lots of executives that I worked for that I wouldn't let watch my dog. They're rude, they're yellers, they don't really know how to work with people. And then there are leaders that I would have walked through fire for because they were so, authentic, and they wanted to do good and to do better and to improve and to grow the company. So, that voice you get comes from so many different places, but people are watching. They're always watching, and they know who the leaders are in a group, and they turn to them. And they say, if they're not ready to be the leader, they turn to the person in the room that's a leader and say, okay, well, what should we do? What is your thoughts? And because they want to hear those moments from us. And we can do it. We know we can. We've been doing it for years.
Thank you so much. Monica, do you want to add a point?
Sure. So finding your leadership voice, I think, is shutting out white noise and chatter. shutting out self-doubt. I've had 3 times in my life where leadership, it was clear to me that I had to step into those shoes. Once at 19 at the University of Vermont, where there was a lack of diversity. I was often the only Black person in the class, the only person of color in the class. And for a young person coming from the city of Newark, a predominantly at the time Black city, having the comfort of home and my parents, and to go to Vermont, a ways away, and having to figure out how do I move and navigate this space. And really, that's where I found the voice, the courage to speak up, the confidence that I was bringing something to the table, that, I was clear that I had the right to be there. That wasn't the issue, but really just not being afraid to ask questions, answer questions, and operate in this room where many didn't look like me. Another point was, over the course of my career, I had a colleague who, it was a struggle. He struggled with me, I struggled with him, and I was intimidated by him. That's hard to admit, but I had just moved into the private sector and I was intimidated because, I allowed myself to be somewhat, I won't say bullied, but challenged in ways that I hadn't been before. And the day I stood up and said, I know what I know, and I'll be the last one standing, was the day that I was liberated and understood my power in that space. And also it freed me up to be, to really walk into a leadership role. Had I not done that, had I cowered, had I withdrawn, I don't know where I'd be. And that's one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, was to be met with that kind of challenge. And by the way, this person had incredible skill sets, smart, brilliant, strategic. So what I did was, I managed him, but I also took a lot of the good information and skills and experience that he had. I watched him. And I made sure that I took all the best of him and tried to replicate that. And then the other piece was me putting him in his place.
Yeah. So let's make this interactive. Does anybody have any questions that you want answered? Great. Do we have a microphone? Here, someone's coming. Oops.
You all hear me? Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for all of your comments. They have been so inspirational for us. But the one thing I want to ask is, you talked about mentorship. Can you really talk also about the importance of a sponsor as you move through your career? Because it's great to be mentored, but having a sponsor, someone who's going to speak on your behalf when you're not in the room, as relates to that promotion or that new opportunity. I think that sometimes mentorships are great, but having a sponsor is critical as you move through your career.
What a great question. I just want to make sure everybody heard it, because could everybody hear that question? You want me to repeat it? Yeah. Okay. It sounds like mentorship versus sponsorship. Does anybody want to?
I can start. I think one of the things, it's so, you made a great point. It's so incredibly important to have that person in your career, in your life. And I think one of just the moment would be is look around your organization, look around your circle. Who should that be? And I think sometimes we are too passive in identifying and taking more ownership of selecting that person. Obviously, it's a two-way street. But I would say, being on both sides of that equation, that when people come towards somebody and want to have that relationship, we all need to be open and eager to accept that. And I would agree with you. I think the reality of we can't be in every location where the discussions and the activity is happening, and having somebody that's planted in a good location in many of those conversations is incredibly important for career growth. I think also the kind of being prepared and being engaged with that person, making it easy for them to be an advocate of yours. I've been in situations where people have aspirations, but they don't always come organized with a list, understanding kind of what their goals are. They know that they want to do something bigger and different and make an impact, but it's always, sometimes women, I'll pick on us, gender, is that we don't sit down and think about really staking out the claim on that is what we want, and being almost too shy or too questioning. If I say it out loud, something bad's going to happen. But that's the best way a sponsor can support you, is being real clear on what the goals are and what we're trying to accomplish.
In my experience, you don't even know sometimes who your sponsors are. So you do a good job, and someone said to me, "Well, XYZ put you in for this job," and I was like, "I barely know them." "Well, but you impressed them doing this, that, the other 2 years ago, and you're a good fit." So if you do a good job and you volunteer and you try to show that you're willing to do different things, sponsors will show up all over the place. So it kind of feeds on itself. Or sometimes we've had jobs available in my department, or I'm aware of jobs, and I've tapped people from my experience, and they're like, "Really? Why do you think of me?" So don't underestimate yourself. Just what you said, like women, excuse me, women often just underestimate ourselves. So put yourself out there.
Can I give the perspective
Of course.
from a person of color and a woman of color? Sponsorship is a lot more complicated. Which is why as soon as I got to the, a big table, wherever, I made sure to, sponsor lots of people, maybe even overextending myself a bit. Part of it, so absolutely be prepared, right? So as long as you're doing an exceptional job, then you would think sponsorship should come easy to you. But there's also a cultural side to it, right? I was working in a law firm. I didn't play golf because my father was an avid golfer. And whenever I was in trouble and he was going to lecture me, he decided to multitask and take me to the driving range. He practiced and I got lectured. I'm not playing golf ever. Okay. So culturally, I was not on the golf course with some of the law partners, right? Culturally, I don't know. I do like sports. I did go to the University of Michigan, but I don't know, I'm not into baseball. Culturally, I was not similar to some of the people in various organizations I've been in who could have sponsored me. And so it was important sometimes to put myself out of my comfort zone so that I could culturally be relatable. It is very difficult. And I would say to people of color, women of color here today, don't seek out the Black person, the Hispanic person, the Latina person. Don't seek out the Asian person. Seek out whomever you admire the most. Maybe the person who has the most power in the room. That person may not look like you, didn't grow up eating the food you ate, doesn't like anything about your culture. You might not like anything about their culture. But the point is you will grow together, right? And more importantly, what you're doing is in opening maybe that person to sponsoring you because you're always in their face, you're always prepared, you're taking yourself out of your comfort zone. You are creating a situation where that very powerful person may choose to sponsor other people of color. And maybe he or she never thought about it. Again, because it's cultural. It's not like I don't, white men don't like sponsoring, I don't know, Black women from Louisiana. That is not the case. It's really about familiarity, right? And so as you seek out your sponsor, and I guess I am speaking to a subset of you all today, if you're a person of color and you're seeking out a sponsor, consider what those actions might mean for someone coming behind you. I'm done.
I'd like to jump in because I've given a lot of thought to this. The great Carla Harris, who is in the financial world, she's brilliant. She wrote an amazing book and she speaks about this very issue. And I think she does the best job of breaking down the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. And mentors are critically important because they help you develop. I have a mentor who is a white male. I seek out, to your point, anyone who is supportive, who's going to give me the truth, who understands a little bit about me, what makes me tick, my core values. And so this gentleman said to me, "You are in a box. I want to help you get out of that box." In other words, your network is limited. You've got to broaden your network, and I'm going to help you do it. And he did something amazing. He took me to a private club in the city, and I met Henry Kissinger and some other folks there. And I'll tell you, the club was not a club that I would want to frequent. In other words, the art didn't represent me. The wait staff looked like me, and that was about it. But I had to be willing to go into the space and open my mind. And I learned so much that day. More importantly, how to broaden my horizons and step outside of my comfort zone, right? So there's the mentor, and you should have a vast, not gender specific, not race specific. But then there is the sponsor. And I will tell you candidly, I've only had one in my career. I've had a lot of mentors. I've had a lot of support across the board. But I'm talking about particularly in the private sector, I've had one in my career. And I didn't even know it. And when I discovered it, I continued to go to him to request help. I believe he is single-handedly one of the reasons that I've moved up in the company at United. He has been an amazing, this is the part, you don't really get to pull in your sponsor. They find you. And to point that was made, it's the work that you do and but once you find out that someone's rooting for you, you continue to give them reasons to do so. And so when you are out of the room, they will pound the table on your behalf. When other people can't see your gifts or why you can work in another division, that person can make the case. And so it's very important to understand the difference and how to cultivate both.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, I do.
Great
I
question.
have one challenge to that, in that mentors are typically someone that we will go to because we know we need a challenge, and that person challenges us. We need to ask for sponsors at times. We need to offer to be a sponsor. And it's easier for us, ladies, to offer to be a sponsor than it is for us to go to someone and say, please be my sponsor. And I think, yes, there are naturally people who will be like, yep, I'm going to sponsor this person. They do an amazing job. They're right on the money, perfect. And then you're in the room with other folks and you start looking around the room and you're thinking to yourself, well, he compliments me on my work, or she compliments me on what I've done, or we've had this conversation. Maybe I should ask. And I learned a very long time ago from some brilliant individuals that you can ask for anything. The worst they're going to say is no.
Absolutely.
I got to a point in my career when I was doing financial or fundraising, I was asking for millions of dollars. And if I asked somebody for $1 million and they didn't clutch their throat and fall to the floor, I didn't ask for enough. Asking someone to sponsor you is not cutting off a limb. They probably already think that you are a wonderful employee, that you are smart, you are brilliant, and you are capable. They just need to know that you want them in their corner. You need them, and that they're like, yeah, I like you. I want you to succeed. I want you in those higher positions because you do a great job.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I think that goes back to looking at the rules and going outside of those. I don't mean breaking rules that are going to be problematic, but I do think, we hear about sponsors and you shouldn't, sponsors find you. I stand corrected. I think there is room to change that process. And so I think that's a great point.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else I saw more hands, so I want to make sure we get to the questions. Got one here. There's someone in front.
Back, yeah.
Oh, okay. And then we'll do the one in front after. Sorry, there was no mic.
Good morning. Oh, now it works. Okay. Thank you so much for your insight. In response to intimidation, how can we teach our young girls to be able to address the intimidation that they feel from both men and women when the young generation feels even awkward just saying hello? And in regards to the other piece too, having the courage to ask, hi, can you sponsor me so I can grow as well?
It's a great question. Thank you so much. Does someone want to take that one first?
Well, my first thought is that all young ladies should be involved in the Girl Scouts of America. I fully admit I am an alumni. I'm a Gold Star Girl Scout. And I think some of that is modeled and trained behavior, right? So, you've got Girl Scouts, you've got clubs at school, you've got all these different opportunities. And if kids don't get engaged, they don't build some of those skill sets. For young people who are beyond that, and I keep saying young people because I'm old, that's the only reason why. Folks that are in that generation of, first jobs or second jobs, my college kids all the time, I say to them, and this is me, people don't intimidate me because that's me allowing it. I don't allow it. If you're better than me, great. I am gunning for your job. I am going to do everything I can do to get where you are because that's where I want to be. And we need to keep teaching that. Some of the most brilliant minds, were intimidated by others, and yet they created light bulbs and electricity and all of these other things around us that we take for granted now. So it's that support, coach, be a volunteer. We've heard that a couple times up here. Volunteer in your community, get engaged. Be someone that in your community, people go, she can help us. And then turn around to them and say, no, you can help you. I'll cheer you on. What do you need me to support you with? Intimidation is, one of those things that folks use when they know and believe that you're powerful. They're trying to hold you back. And if you can see it, or if someone else points it out to you, you need to say, okay, now I know why you act this way. No problem. Meetings will be totally different because you don't feed into them anymore.
I was just going to say, I think, yeah, great points. That intimidation, I agree with you. It's like we're allowing that to happen. But I think part of being a leader is to minimize that. And if you see it, you need to do something about it and make that not, if I would see that play out in a situation where I was in, I would want to, jump on that right away, both in a private and in a coaching conversation. I think the other point I would make is just recognizing that when somebody feels that assaulted, obviously not physically, but they need a safe place to have that conversation. And I think that part of unpacking what happened and why that person felt so, intimidated, as your point, is to help them understand what was playing out and what their choices and options are. I think sometimes we're so busy kind of moving through our day, all of our responsibilities. Part of us as we grow in our careers, we need to be being alert to some of those opportunities and then creating that safe space for people to have that conversation and really dig through what was really going on and the tools to be able to handle that, because we do need to stand up. I'm sure everybody in this room has stood up for themselves and had to have some self-talk and had to have some role playing and all that goes with that. But that's really important. The best advice I've ever had is when you have to have a tough conversation, you need to practice and you need to be prepared for all the different variables that are going to play out, because once you're prepared, then you're ready. And again, to seize the moment when you have confidence, when you're feeling strength. And, I'm in a healthcare environment, but, I never talk to a surgeon near the OR. I never am going to go to a place where their base of power is to have a conversation that's important to me. And, that plays out in a lot of different forums, but having those opportunities to give that feedback is what's going to turn that around for sure.
That's great. I like to think about the disenfranchised girl or boy, because they don't always, I'm talking about your question about how do you create confidence or help young people establish confidence. You have all manner of people, some who have parents, some who don't, some who have grandparents raising them, some who may not be in the best education system. So I think our goal and our task should be to seek out opportunities to support and help young people and instill some of these very golden nuggets into them, help them understand that they're smart, that they're worthy, that they're valued, that they're beautiful. All of these things matter, and it gives you the wings. It helps. It's wind beneath your wings when you have that as a young person, because then when you have challenges or you're deciding on career, or you're moving through school, you have something in you that propels you. And so I think that's really critical. Not everybody has access to organizations, but if they have a mentor at a young age, someone who can guide them, introduce them to opportunities like that, I think that's the best thing that we can do. And we do need to start early. I had a mother and a father who told me all those things. You are smart. You are worthy and valued. So I went into the world knowing that. Not everybody has that. And so it's up to us. And as we help each other as women, we have to think about our girls in particular, but also our boys.
Yeah. Can I just say, I challenge all of you all to encourage each other in the workplace, right? Because we don't know where folks are coming from, what their background is. But you know when someone's not having a good day, you know that one challenging supervisor, a woman comes out of the office, she looks deflated, because you've had to deal with that supervisor. So encourage that woman. That doesn't take anything from you. And in fact, I think by putting good out, you get good back. So encourage each other in the workplace. We're all dealing with the same stuff.
Absolutely. I think we have time for one more question, and I know I promised the person in front. So thank you, everybody.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Chaya Pamula. I know some of my question, I think, partly is answered, but I do want to just raise this question. I know leadership is about leading. We talk about leading. At a point, it becomes like a winning game. But leadership for me is also about standing by, creating opportunities and providing support for others to lead. So, do you have any scenarios that you would like to share in your leadership, what you have done?
I can do that. So I had 20 years in youth development. I worked for the YMCA for a very long time, and I loved it. It was wonderful. I worked for a resident camp, and at the resident camp, there was a 1,000-year flood. Anybody from South Jersey, you may have heard of that. That 1,000-year flood took out all the dams, all the roads, but it still had all the campers at the camp. And by taking out all of that infrastructure, our kids couldn't get to all of the activities. Now I know you're like, whatever, we'll figure it out. My teenagers at the time, they were all camp counselors, young people. I worked really hard all summer with them to cultivate them, to bring them up, to help them, to, put that wind under their wings for them. They would come and they said, we got this. We're going to set up all new games. And I was exhausted. And I went, okay, here's the rules. No bleeding, no breaking, no fires. No, we can do it. Okay. And off they went. That was Sunday. By Wednesday, all I really did was walk around, and I felt like Miss America checking in. How you doing? You good? Okay, I'll go get you some food. Okay. They created games out of nothing. They brought in all of their sports gear from home. And they made it so that the 500 kids that still showed up for camp had a great week. And people kept saying to me, why are you letting them be in charge? And I said, because they know what they're doing. No, they don't. They're teenagers. Okay, so they're going to make a few mistakes. But if I don't give them the chance to practice being a leader, they're never going to do it. And so this was pre-Fitbits. I probably walked 10,000 miles, and I would just go visit. Do you need anything? Do we need me to talk to anybody? Do you need me to call a parent? What do you need me to do? Nope, we're good. Okay. And that was the best summer of my life.
That's great.
In youth development.
That's
and
great.
I kept thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm doing this. I don't know how I'm doing this. What are we doing? How are we doing this? I can't even imagine. I had a hard time sleeping at night, and they'd all come in excited to be with the kids all day. And I was like, all right, we're good. Go ahead.
So I think we have time for one other person to answer this.
I wanted to add to that. I think the greatest part about being a leader is getting out of the way of the team to lead.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a great story. And I think that many of us have to reinforce the fact that stepping back and engaging the teams that we are a part of to do their great work. And I think it creates that expectation that there's more that I have to give. And if you would just, move aside, there's great things that can happen, and encourage everybody to think about that.
Thank you. So I'm told it's time. I think we'll all be around for a bit. So please feel free. Come approach us, ask us questions, reach out to us. I think you have our email address. Please feel free. Thank you, Michelle, for allowing us to do that.